All right, good Wednesday evening, everybody. Of course, we do have a winter storm that is taking shape across the southern part of the country, the southern plains and the southeast. What part of Mississippi will be impacted? That is the big question. I think it's increasingly likely that it's going to be the Delta and North Mississippi, and less likely that it's going to be the Pine Belt. We're going to be in between right here in the metro, really along the Natchez Trace. That's going to be kind of the dividing line. I'm thinking right now between any frozen stuff and just a cold rain over the weekend. So today's rain, not a cold rain. It was actually mild all day. We stayed in the 50s all afternoon. And we're going to continue to be in the 50s as we go through this evening and overnight. So temperatures holding pretty steady. The rain, though, has been steady. This is actually a good thing. It's been mostly dry, and we needed a good, steady rain without the threat of severe weather. That's exactly what we got today. Some heavier downpours in there. Now, officially in Jackson, we're only up to about 1/10 of an inch of rain, although there is more to come as we go through this evening and overnight. Although I think rainfall totals are going to max out at probably about 1/2 inch for most places. There you see the heavier pockets northeast of Jackson and then down around the Louisiana state line. Current temperature in Jackson at the 6 o'clock hour is 55 degrees. And again, we'll stay there as we go through the overnight. Now, this front is not the one that's going to bring us the cold air. That one is still farther up to the north, and there's the storm energy over the Pacific Ocean moving into Southern California. That is going to produce the storm that will be tracking across our area. There you see that storm energy pulling into the southwestern part of the country. The colder air drops south. The two are going to meet across the southern plains and the mid-Mississippi River Valley and extending even farther to the east, eventually to the east coast. So we do have a winter storm watch that has been put into effect from Friday afternoon through Sunday afternoon, so basically through the weekend. And notice it's mostly for the Delta, North Mississippi. It does extend into the metro and into Warren County, Claiborne County, but we're just right on the very edge of this watch area. Notice anywhere to the south and east of us, they're not in the watch, and this is where I really think we're just going to see a cold rain as we go through the weekend. So that winter storm watch is massive. It goes from New Mexico, includes most of Texas, all the way down to Del Rio and Houston, most of Louisiana, and then all the way up into the Midwest and over towards the Carolinas. So yeah, this is going to be a massive storm affecting a good part of the country. So this is our in-house model. This is our graph model. It's a shorter term but higher resolution model. It only goes out to about 2 to 3 days. So that's the issue. This storm's coming in over the weekend, so we've been waiting till we get close enough to it to show you these higher resolution models. And I'm going to show you this one, but it's only going to go out until about Saturday morning. As newer runs come in, they'll go farther in time, and by this time tomorrow, we'll be able to show you most of the weekend. But we can show you Thursday and Friday for sure, and I want you to notice that it's going to stay cloudy, spotty showers, mild temperatures, 50s to 60s in the Pine Belt through Thursday, and that's going to be true for most of Friday as well. But Friday night, the cold air starts to come in from the north, and look at how those temperatures drop, even all the way down to the Pine Belt. But here's the issue. Where is the freezing line going to set up? And notice in Jackson, we're really close to freezing, but just above. And I do think, I've looked at enough of the models, that our freezing line for most of the day Saturday is likely going to stay just to the north of the Jackson area. So for us, I'm thinking it's going to be mostly a cold rain, and certainly if you live south of here, that's what it's going to be. Cold in Hattiesburg at 36, but they're going to be well enough above freezing. They don't have to worry about anything frozen. Now, the opposite is true in the Delta. Look at Greenville. They are definitely going to be below freezing at 27 degrees, and the icing could start as early as Friday night through the overnight and into Saturday morning. And I want you to notice that farther to the north, that is snow. That is heavy snow. Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, southern Missouri, Oklahoma. You can imagine in the Ozarks, they're going to get a lot of snow there. And that's what we usually see. We see a transition from rain to the south, and the farther north you go, the thicker that layer of cold air is at the surface, you transition from freezing rain to sleet farther north, and eventually to snow. Because freezing rain for us, because the layer of cold air is going to be a shallow layer just near the surface, So the precipitation is going to fall in the warm air as rain, and then when it hits the surface, if we are at freezing at the surface, that's when it freezes on contact. So the freezing line is a really important thing to know, and we just don't know exactly where that's going to set up. All the models say it's going to be in a different place. I'm generally thinking it's going to set up north and west of Jackson. So if you live in Humphreys County, Sharkey County, Issaquah County, Holmes County, you got a much better chance that you're going to get some icing. All right, 5-day rain forecast, spotty showers, but mild temperatures Thursday, Friday. The big storm comes in over the weekend. You see the coverage of the precipitation really covers most of the state, and at the same time that cold air drops southward. So that's why we got a wintry mix for both of those days. By Monday, it's going to be dry again. Could even see the sun come back, but it's going to be extremely cold, and we're going to talk about that part of the forecast here in just a second. Now, let's go back and look at our long-range models, the ones that we have been looking at over the past couple of days. There are two big ones, the Euro and the GFS, the European basically and the American. The Euro has been handling these situations better. It's more reliable model, and it's really what I'm going to base my forecast on. But we're going to look at the other one too, because they got to come into agreement eventually. All right, so here's a look at the Euro model starting at noon Friday, and look at what happens Friday night going into early Saturday. Now this goes all the way through noon Saturday, and notice the freezing line northwest of Jackson. So, cold rain. That would be great. Cold rain here and points south. Now, we know as we get into Saturday night, the temperature is going to continue to cool down, and that freezing line is going to drop. The question is, will the precipitation come to an end as the temperature is dropping? And I think that's really what's going to happen. So, by Sunday morning, that freezing line dropping south of Jackson to about the Natchez Trace Corridor, all the way down to about Natchez, and we are going to get that transition into ice here, but it's going to be for a very short time. There could even be, the farther north and west you go, it could transition into sleet and snow because that colder air is thicker. The profile of it is thicker. So that Sunday morning, look how quickly this comes to an end Sunday. By Sunday afternoon, it's done. It's gone. It moves to the east. We're done with it. And then it's just going to be about cold weather. All right, so that is our European model. Now let's go and look at the GFS model. And I've paused it at the exact same times that I paused the European model, so you can get a direct comparison. Initially, they look about the same. The freezing line north of Jackson through noon Saturday, we're going to see a cold rain. The difference comes as we get into Saturday night and Sunday and Monday. The GFS drops that freezing line farther south and quicker, and it holds on to the winter weather longer farther south, even into the Pine Belt. It doesn't really get rid of it until Monday morning. So the GFS has got us in wintry weather all day Sunday, where the European has it getting out pretty early in the day Sunday. So that's the difference. And again, based on past experience and on the last system that moved through, the European handled it much better, and that's why we're going to tend to go toward that as our solution for our forecast. So here's a look at our ice accumulations for both models. We're going to go back to the European, and this is Saturday morning, ice accumulation northwest of the Big Black River. But then as we get into Sunday, remember that freezing line drops, and we could see a little bit of icing in the metro and all the way down to our river counties in the southwestern part of the state, like Claiborne and Jefferson and Adams counties. Ice totals, 0 farther south. Nothing in South Mississippi, nothing in the Pine Belt, and very low ice totals in those southwestern counties. But the thing here is about ice, you only need a little bit to really mess things up. If you get 1/10 of an inch of ice, that's a lot of ice. That's enough. That's plenty to wreak havoc on roadways. Elevated surfaces like bridges and overpasses are easily going to ice over with even just a glaze of ice. Now, when you're talking about areas farther to the north, getting heavy ice accumulations of a 1/2 inch or more, a 1/2 inch to an inch, which this model is putting out from Yazoo City and points north, that's when you get into the weight of the ice breaking tree limbs storm for days on end. And that's not obviously what anybody wants. But we have to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. I'm hoping that the freezing line is going to stay to the north of us. And then once we get to Sunday, the precipitation gets out of here very quickly, and we just don't get much of anything. That's the hope. But we have to prepare for a bad scenario, and you really need to do that if you live really anywhere northwest of the metro. So here's the other model. Remember, the GFS was the one that was more aggressive with the colder air and the ice storm. And here's what it's saying. It's taking that ice all the way down into the Pine Belt and putting out 1/10 of an inch of ice or more for most of us. 1/2 inch to 1 inch for most of us. I'm not buying into that. I don't think at this point that is going to happen. But, again, the models have to come into better agreement. What I think is most likely is the GFS is going to meet up with the Euro where it is, but it could go the other way. That's why we have to continue to watch this, and we're going to show you everything that you need to know to prepare for this. So I'm going to keep the chance for winter weather at about 70% north of I-20 and north of the Natchez Trace. But south of there, the chances drop dramatically, especially in the Pine Belt, where I think the chances are really less than 20%. Again, cold rain for you. You'll be lucky to see a little bit of sleet mixed in as it's coming to an end. So our confidence is pretty high that we are going to see a winter storm for a part of the state, for the Delta, and we're still 3 days out. So the confidence hopefully will continue to grow. What we are likely going to see is impactful ice, and what is uncertain at this point is where the freezing line is going to set up, so we don't know exactly who's going to get the ice, but more likely the Delta, less likely the Pine Belt. And of course, as always, in the metro, we're in between, waiting to see what happens. Now, let's talk about the cold weather, because look at how precipitously the temperature drops from the 50s to the 40s to the 30s to the 20s to the teens. Every day it gets progressively colder, and wind chills are going to be down into the single digits. So let's take a look at those wind chills. This is Saturday morning. It's going to feel like freezing. Here's something interesting. If that area of low pressure tracks right across Mississippi, we could actually see some warm air surging up ahead of the storm. So warm air surging into Alabama and southeastern Mississippi. Notice the wind. Look at the wind. The winds are coming in from the southwest over that part of the state. So that's something we're going to have to watch out for too, because could there be thunderstorms on that cold front? I don't think that's going to happen. Don't think it's going to happen, but let's just keep that in the back of our minds. And so that makes the difference here very stark between the Pine Belt and the Delta. It could feel, Sunday morning, it could feel like we're in the mid-60s there, but only in the teens to low 20s northwest of Jackson. Now, eventually the cold air is going to overtake the entire state, and by the next morning, Monday morning, when temperatures are in the teens, wind chills are going to be in the single digits. And not just that, we're talking about low single digits. It could feel like 3 degrees in Yazoo City, and 4 in Rolling Fork, and 5 in Carthage and Forest, and 6 in Vicksburg and Jackson. Even down in the Pine Belt, it could feel like it's about 10 degrees down there. The next morning, 24 hours later at 7 a.m. on your Tuesday, wind chills are still in the teens. And even Wednesday morning is going to be cold. I think we'll be below freezing Wednesday morning as well. So we got to prepare for this. Again, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. So when the storm arrives, we want you to stay indoors, avoid getting on roadways, especially if you are thinking about traveling to the north. Just cancel those plans. Don't do it. There's no reason to put yourself in danger because there's going to be black ice. And we all know that's the worst kind of winter weather. Before the storm gets here, while we do have a couple of mild days, and it will be mild Thursday and Friday, you need to prepare. Do what you got to do to get ready for the weekend and early next week. Get your safety kit ready, get your batteries, get food and water. And if you lose electricity, get the type of food that you don't necessarily have to heat up. Get something prepackaged or something like that. Unless you have a gas stove, of course, you could use that. If you lose electricity, flashlight is going to be handy, and blankets as well, because it's going to be really cold. Also, get fuel for your generator if you're lucky enough to have one of those, and spend this time to wrap exposed outdoor pipes, because unfortunately I do think that is going to be an issue. We're looking at temperature staying near or below freezing for 3 solid days, from Sunday through Tuesday. So not only is it going to be really cold, it's going to be freezing for a long period of time, and that's the type of weather we get broken pipes in. So seal those drafts around your doors, and when the event is happening, when it's really cold, let your faucets drip so you can have some water running through those pipes in the house. The pipes in the house should be okay. If you've got heat in the house, if you don't lose electricity and you've got heat in the house, the heat in the house is going to warm the house enough that those pipes in the house should be okay. If you lose electricity, though, and it gets really cold, that could be more of an issue. It's the outdoor pipes, those outdoor spigots that can burst. So you got to get those wrapped up over the next couple of days. Also, charge your mobile devices and have a way to charge those if you lose electricity. And of course, we want you to watch WJTV on air and online. You can download our WJTV news and weather apps to get the latest information delivered directly to you, but you got to have those devices charged to get that information. All right, so tonight, scattered showers, temperatures in the 50s. We'll be in the low 60s tomorrow. We'll see spotty showers through the day on your Thursday. I know it's going to be wet, but you can still get out and about. It's not like we're going to see thunderstorms. It's just going to be a nuisance rain that we're going to be dealing with on Thursday. So get to your home improvement store and get the stuff that you need over the next couple of days. Of course, once we get to the weekend, we're in it. We're hoping for that cold rain for most of us for Saturday, but I think it is likely going to transition into ice Saturday night into Sunday morning, especially northwest of Jackson. Sunday, it's going to be tapering off. By Monday, we get the sun back, but it's going to be cold. Look at the temperatures Sunday. We stay below freezing most of the day. Monday, we stay below freezing all day. Tuesday, we stay below freezing for most of the day, and we're below freezing again Wednesday and Thursday mornings. Now, yeah, in the afternoon, we're going to be warming into the 40s, but that's a lot of freezing weather for an extended period of time, and I just know from experience that pipes are going to break if they're not protected. All right, that is your update for Wednesday evening. Obviously, we're going to be on top of this. We're making a plan for the weekend, and all of our meteorologists are going to be here to update you as we get through the next couple of days. Meteorologist Megan Hanna is going to be here first thing in the morning with your next update. Gracie Morris will be here with her along with Roberta Zamora, and Austin Powell will be here over the weekend. So we got you covered, and we're going to keep you apprised about what is happening and what we expect to happen as we get through this winter storm. All right, that's it for tonight. I hope you have a good one. Make your plan for the weekend, and we will see you tomorrow.